I bet this looks kind of familiar. Good morning, YouTube. What's up, everybody? I hope you're safe and healthy and happy and doing okay. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of first run impressions videos, which means I'm gonna have a lot of shoes to run in and a lot more miles to run. But today, why not add just one more? And I figured I had to do this shoe this week because I just did the stability version of it last week. So, if you don't already know, today's shoe is the Saucony Ride 15. Here is the Guide 15. I just reviewed it last week. They look pretty identical at first glance, but there are some differences, obviously. This is neutral and this is stability. But today we're gonna put the Guide to the side, and talk about the Ride. I mean, sign me up for a record deal, my God. We're gonna see if I enjoyed this shoe. I have about 10 miles in it, so we're gonna talk about all that. But first, of course, you gotta sit through the run footage. Before we get started today, I do want to let you know that this shoe was sent to me by Saucony and Running Warehouse. However, neither company is going to see this before you. They can't tell me what to say, and all of my opinions are my own. All right, let's talk about the spectacular specs of this shoe, coming in at 7.8 ounces for women's size 8. And for my size 7.5 women's, this shoe came in at 8.7 ounces. So not too heavy, and it feels nice and light in hand. This shoe has an 8mm drop, with 35mm of stack in the heel and 27 in the forefoot. And for me, the Saucony Ride 15 is true to size. So what do we got going on for this upper? Saucony is using just a nice standard engineered mesh. It's probably the same material as the Guide 15's upper, but it does have a slightly different pattern. This is gonna feel a little bit more breathable in that forefoot. As you can see, plenty of ventilation there. If we go to the midfoot, there's not quite as much going on in terms of overlays. We do have this big Saucony logo. That does help to keep some structure. And if we go to the back, the heel counter is sturdy as well. No heel slipping there. I gotta give it to Saucony for both the Guide and the Ride's upper. I feel like it's really comfortable and it just feels so soft against your foot. It's not every day that I'm like, wow, the upper of that shoe was fantastic, but for the last two Saucony shoes, I have felt that way. Turning the shoe over this way, it is pretty average in terms of width, I think. Not too wide, not really too narrow. I have plenty of room for my toes to kind of spread out and get the space that they need in the forefoot. I do think the shoe also comes in wides like the Guide did. So that's a big plus. Something that I didn't talk about in the Guide 15 that I do want to talk about here is these purple bands. Running Warehouse calls them the ghillie strap lockdown. I don't think we need these. I think Saucony could get away without having this. They used to have some kind of technology, I believe, called Pro Lock, and I guess that's kind of what they're doing here, just in a different way. I don't love it because I feel like it only tightens like right here at the top as opposed to like the whole midfoot. I don't know. It's not the worst, definitely not a deal breaker, but just something that I don't really love. But what I do love is this gusseted tongue. That helps to give you a nice kind of lockdown across the midfoot despite these little purple things. And we got just the right amount of nice cushioning around the ankle collar. And I think Saucony did a great job with this upper. They managed to maintain a nice, lightweight, very breathable package here. without getting too lightweight and getting into kind of like racing flat or like racing shoe territory. I think this is like the perfect amount of material, and I think runners are really going to enjoy it. Moving on down to the midsole, Saucony is using an enhanced version of their Power Run foam. This is supposed to feel a little bit more lightweight, a little bit more cushioned, and just give you a smoother ride in general. And I would say that this is kind of the similar feeling that I had about the Guide. It's, you know, not the most exciting ride out there, but I will say that this does feel a little bit softer than the Guide. That could obviously be because of the stability features in the Guide that this just does not have. It just feels like it has maybe a little bit more of a forgiving forefoot, and the whole thing just does honestly feel smoother out there on the road. I quite liked running in the shoe. Like I said earlier, I have about 10 miles in it. I did take it a little bit more up tempo in some areas of my runs, and I think it does really well there too. And what I like about this shoe is that it has a nice flex to it without being completely unstable. So it just feels a little bit more natural and truly does feel smooth. I would prefer to have a little bit more cushion, kind of like what I said with the Guide, but I feel like this has a little bit more give than the Guide, and it feels less clunky. So I like it. I'm into it. If I had to compare this to another basic daily trainer, like the 880, like the New Balance 880, I would definitely pick this over that every time. My point is that this is definitely going to be a workhorse for a lot of people, and something that I am definitely excited to keep running in, which I wasn't necessarily super excited about the Guide running in that. But this I am, I gotta say. If we turn the Ride 15 over, you'll see that they're using some blown rubber here in only the places that Saucony thinks you really need it. We have a little bit up here in the forefoot, a lot of exposed Power Run material here in the midfoot, and then 2 little strips of the blown rubber in the heel. And I don't know if you can see it here, I'll try to hold it up, but there's a really deep flex groove on the lateral side of the shoe. And Saucony says that's supposed to just provide some extra flexibility that is needed when the stack height of shoes increases. And like I said earlier, I think that kind of checks out because I do feel like the shoe is nice and flexible. Anyways, onto the wear of the shoe. I am seeing a little bit of wear, especially in that exposed Power Run in the forefoot, and a little bit of wear on the blown rubber in the forefoot as well. It's not crazy, not a ton, just something that I'm gonna keep an eye on. But the rest of the shoe looks pretty great. And I really have nothing bad to say about the traction. Felt fine to me out on the road. I think it's really just gonna be a matter of how well it's gonna hold up. The Saucony Ride 15 is $139.95 on runningwarehouse.com, a very fair price for this shoe. It's gonna be able to do a lot for you, a lot of different types of running, and last a long time, I think. If you're interested in picking up your own pair of the Saucony Ride 15, just go to the links in the description of this video and pick up your own pair. Just keep in mind, those are affiliate links with Running Warehouse. It doesn't mean much for you, it just helps out my channel so I can continue to make these videos talking about shoes about less than an hour before my actual job starts. But in all seriousness, I think this is a good shoe. Yes, I wish the midsole was a little bit more exciting, but that's not the point of this shoe. The point is for it to be simple, and I think for a simple standard shoe, just your meat and potatoes daily trainer, this is the one that I would recommend out of the couple that I have tried recently. I'm also interested to see if the midsole just gives a little bit more over the course of 50 miles, and I feel like it probably will. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Well, everyone, that concludes my first run impressions of the Saucony Ride 15. If you enjoyed this video, please like it down below and subscribe. And when you're done with all that, hit the notifications bell so you can find out every time I upload a new video. I'm waiting for the comments that say, but they have the same midsoles. How come you didn't really like the Guide, but you like the Ride? Doesn't feel the same, to me at least. I have another video for you next week, but in the meantime, get out there, get on the grind, and don't forget to run like heller. See you next time. Everybody's gonna bark. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, maybe not. Don't do it. There you go.